Hello guys. So now we have hardly 140 days left for your prelims, right? So this last 5 months, let's be honest, your biggest enemy is not the syllabus. Your enemy at this point of time or from here onwards is the confusion whether I should study static or current, which subject is risky, and what should I revise last and where should I revise first and all those, right? And mostly serious students, I don't think that you'll face problem with your syllabus. You might have done the syllabus already once. Now it's about revisions, now it's about priority, now it's about taking tests, now it's about analyzing and giving importance to some areas and slightly less importance to other areas. So that's your confusion is going to be. So today in this session, what I'll be doing is I'm giving you a data driven prediction and also a practical revision blueprint. So remember, this is going to be a revision blueprint. I'm going to discuss this session is for those who have already have some basics covered already, right? So here we are not going to do any guesswork, and I'm not going to do some motivation also. I'm not a person who give random motivation, and it's a kind of decision making tool for you for your last 5 months. So let's understand this big picture, what the trend says with respect to static and current. I've analyzed the trend for the last 5 years because there is no point in going back to 15 years, 20 years. So let's keep the latest trend for the purpose of analysis. So the last 5 years, 2020 to 2025, in a simple way. And if you see questions, of course, divided into static and current. And when it comes to current, you can also classify something like it could be analytical and it could be common sense based also. There are some questions which are common sense based. And what we see is a very clear pattern. There is an alternate year trend. What does that mean is one year the static dominate, and the next year the current areas dominates a bit more, and then the static returns. So prelims 2026, the probability is high that it will be static dominated again. But listen carefully, current affairs will not disappear. I never want to say that current affairs won't be there. I just told that it will be static dominant depending upon what we have seen and the pattern. If you decode, right? So alternate year pattern, if you see, it could be static dominated. Current affair will be there, of course. And in fact, the static area also, they'll ask you question from the context, and the context will come from the current. So you can expect 30 to 50, 35 questions from current affairs, of course. And for that, we have the current affair test series alone that covers everything which is required, because monthly, from last 15 months, we have monthly test. So total 15 tests of 100 questions each, and the solutions covers all the topics for your prelims, which is required for you. And finally, we have 5 more tests, which is a consolidation of this 15 months, another 500 question, which is from this 15 months. So that will give you a revision opportunity that will cover everything from the 15 months. I know 12 months is enough, but we are not taking chances. We are going for 15 months. Okay, so total 20 tests for current affairs. That will give you 2000 questions, 2000 topics, and current affairs is taken care with that itself. So now let me come back to what we're discussing. The strategy is very clear. Static will decide your base score, and that's something which everybody will do, right? And the current affair will decide your ultimate result when it comes to prelims, or I would say your rank. Okay, now let's also talk about polity. Polity is very important. Polity is the cutoff killer session, right? See, polity is not just a subject. Polity is a section where easy marks are, you will get easy marks, because the moment you start preparing for civil service, you start with polity, right? And if you lose them, you lose the cutoff. So you can never take chance with polity. Every year, 14, 15 questions you get from polity. And if polity, questions are coming static as predicted, then your key weapon is going to be Lakshmikant, and you will get almost all the questions from there. But the real rule is polity need multiple revisions. If they go to the core facts, then you need this revision. And you don't want multiple sources for polity. There is no need to have any confusion whether I should read this, whether I should read that. You know what to read, and that's the only book that you need to read. But what we need is multiple revision, not multiple sources. One source, multiple revision is what you need for polity. That will take care of everything. Especially if the question is static dominated, you'll get everything. And solve the chapter wise MCQs also. We have that. Our question bank is there. So that will take care of that. Okay. And then you see, these are low hanging fruits, right? You can just go and pluck it easily. So if you go wrong on these questions, then your paper collapse. So don't take chance with polity. Just one source, no confusion, multiple revision, easy marks, mostly direct questions, right? Even if it is current linked, we know what the areas they will ask. There is a predictability when it comes to polity. So never miss on that. Give the first priority. Now coming to geography and mapping. This is the most misunderstood combo. See, geography is often feared unnecessarily by aspirants because when geography static, geography, especially when the paper turns static, then what is more important? NCRT is enough actually, right? If it is coming from static area to 2024 is a clear example, 15 to 16 questions, and most were straight from NCRT logic. So for 2026, let's see if it is static dominated and geography is also dominating, then go through NCRT for your geography. Coming to mapping, see, again, student think mapping need atlas, location, random list, etc. It's not actually like that. Mapping is basically places in news, right? So places in news means what? Conflict zones, the important seas, the rivers, highways, waterways, and all these will appear in current affair. So for me, mapping is not about atlas. Mapping is about places in news, and mapping is all about current affairs, right? These are the areas that you need to focus. So mapping strategy will be you prepare mapping through the current affairs only and only through current affairs. It's not that you take an atlas and you keep, that's the trend that you used to do 2000 to 2015. It's not like that. So there is no need to take atlas and study 5, 10 places every day. That is not going to work out. Just take the current affair and then do the mapping. That's how it should be, and that's how it need to be. Coming to environment. Now, why 2026 may return to the classic UPSC? See, 2025 environment paper was so weird. The parks were missing, laws were missing, species in news were barely asked. But UPSC rarely repeat the same unusual pattern for 2 consecutive years. So last year, when it comes to environment, it was unusual pattern. Now, I don't think that they will repeat that unusual pattern next year. So 2026 is most likely you will get questions from species in news. So just give importance to that. Protected areas is going to be important. Environmental laws, all these are going to come back. That's what I feel. That's what the understanding. I'm dealing with the UPSC and UPSC papers from 2008 onwards. So of course I know, right? And when we see the patterns, we can easily predict. So this year, environment, it's not going to be weird. It's something which is going to be as predicted and as expected also. So species in news is important. As like all years, it is important. Last year it was different. So that different pattern won't be there this year. So species in news, give importance. Don't ignore just because they didn't ask last year. Protected areas, give importance. Environmental laws, give importance. You'll get that. But do not do species statically. This is again going to take a lot of time. That is like, trying to drink the entire ocean. So again, when we talk about the species in news, from where it comes, just like what I've discussed in case of mapping, it comes from current affair. So when you're studying the species, that's why I mentioned species in news, not species, right? That's like you are jumping into the ocean. That is not going to be possible. So whatever is there in news, cover that. Cool. Now coming to international relation, right? So it's again easy mark if you don't overthink, right? So international relation is the cleanest section. Last 3 years, if you see around 15, 16 question and almost all from current affair, right? So the advice is very strict. No static for current affair. Only, sorry, no static for international relation. You will only look at the IR. So you at this point of time, like for current affair alone, you don't for IR, you don't want to read any such kind of textbooks where you see the themes and the perspective and other things, unless you have so much interest in IR, right? Just focus on the current affair because UPSC doesn't ask the static bodies; it asks bodies in news. The whether it is so, there is no point in studying all the international, institutions or organizations, right? So whatever is coming in news, for example, BRICS, BIMSTEC, right, NATO, UPA countries, right? And see, because these are relevant and these are coming in news, that the questions that they will ask you. Understand that and prepare accordingly. It's not required to study all the themes and the perspectives and the static bodies, whatever exists, you don't want to study. Cool. Now coming to economy. So 2025 was application heavy. So what is going to be 2026? I think it will be a normal pattern. So 2025 UPSC, in fact, shocked students with economic questions, primary deficit calculation, gave a numerical feel, right? It's kind of math exam feel also some students have got. So this won't likely repeat with the same intensity. So I'm saying it may repeat because they are giving a hint that they are shifting, but at the same time, likely intensity, the same intensity won't be there. So if 2026 is more static oriented, then you need to focus on the conceptual areas, right? You have to be very clear with the micro and macro basics, and you need to be very thorough with the banking basics. So even Vivek Singh is enough, or our notes are enough, our classes are enough. So Vivek Singh first two chapters, that's around 70 to 80 pages. That's high yielding, right? That 70 to 80 page you can cover. Plus economic survey must be covered. During our time, we just read the class notes, whatever available, plus the economic survey. That take care of everything. But here you can go with your class notes. You can go with our class notes and classes, or the 70, 80 pages, as I told you, from the first two chapters of Vivek Singh. Economic surveys must. Now, coming to science and tech, that's the hybrid subject, right? Science is not purely current nor purely static. So they'll ask you two types of questions, right? Normally current based, like monoclonal antibodies, quantum chips, etc. That's current based. Then old areas also, this foundational areas, old, but still foundational topics like, questions like Gagan, they will ask you. So these are two types of questions that they ask from science and tech, and science and tech is again a very important area that decides your cutoff. So your approach need to be build a small static base. It could be biology, NCRT, basic notes, or even yearbook you can cover, and depend mainly on current affair, right? So that's the two ways they'll ask you question. Now coming to history. History static year means, you see, if it is a static year, then the weightage of history will increase. Now, that's the important warning, right? If paper is going to be more static dominated, history weightage naturally rise. And this is where many students lose mark also. Modern history in 2025, if you see, was easy, but easy years don't repeat endlessly. So 2026 is likely to be tougher history, maybe more factual oriented. But again, you don't want to increase your sources. Your rule is very simple. You have that one source, just like I've discussed with Lakshmikant. You have spectrum, one source, no need to have confusion, no need to have multiple source, multiple revision. So for polity, Lakshmikant, only source, multiple revision. History, spectrum, only one source, multiple revision. Geography, NCRT, again multiple revision, right? Economy, you have choices, and I'm not sticking to one source, but these three, I stick to these one source and multiple revisions. Cool. So spectrum, repeat revision. When it comes to ancient and medieval, stick to your standard sources and keep revising more. And we have done a lot of videos and discussions on that areas. Now, coming to art and culture, again, my point is don't expand sources because it's not highly rewarding. The cost benefit analysis, if you see, it's not that high. Art and culture give around 8 questions. It can become unpredictable. So again, the point is same source and more revision. Okay. Now, there could be some miscellaneous question. Maybe you get 2, 3 questions from sports they've asked before, security, right? These are old UPSC favorites before 2012. Now, again, coming back, so these are two new hot zones. The sports, I think chess is repeatedly asked. Security, like aircraft, UAVs, defense technology. So you prepare, chess basics, key events, even the cricket, last World Cup and all those. Especially it happened in India, and India won the World Cup. And then this aircraft types, UAVs, defense in news. All these areas need to be covered. So guys, prelims 2026 strategy in one line. Static will build your score. I repeat this, current affair will sharpen your edge. So your focus list is Lakshmikant, NCRT geography, spectrum. For 3 subjects, Polity, Lakshmikant, Geography, NCRT, History, Spectrum. Don't even think of changing the source. Multiple revision is what we need. When it comes to economy, your core economy basics from your class notes, from your mentor, or from Vivek Singh, as I've mentioned, or from TMH, whatever. And then economic survey is very important. Then for IR, it's current affair. For mapping, it's current affair. For environment, for static, it is Shangos and plus current affair. Science and tech, it's current affair with the basics from NCRT, bio, or even India yearbook. And sports and security, as value addition. And remember, in this last 140 days, winners are not those who study more. Winners are those who revise smarter. Okay, so that's all about this session. If you are looking for any mentorship or classes or test series, get in touch with us. See you there.